Hey everyone, how you doing today? I have a returning guest. Quite frankly, he is a celebrity. He is a CNBC celebrity, millennial money, and other things. He's done a cheap challenge with Graham Stephan and his girlfriend. So let's welcome Todd Baldwin to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. I know I've been blowing you up and just coming on here like I think this is three times now. So I appreciate your time. You definitely inflate my ego by calling me a celebrity. So I gotta make sure I don't get too hot-headed because you are the man. I aspire to be like you one day. So thanks for having me on. You are killing it, and I wanted to get your advice on some taxes because nobody wants to pay taxes. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah. Well, again, I will give you my experience. Your wife's a CPA. I am not, never took the test. I've been in real estate 20 years, was a high income earner. So I certainly can repeat what I've done historically, and we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, and so let me give you some background real quick. So we are going to have, and I say we because it's me and my wife,
Mhm.
a tax liability of around $360,000. Now,
Oh,
I
it feels so
know
bad for you.
it's first world problems
Yes.
because it's like we're blessed that we made enough money to be, to have to pay that in taxes.
Hmm.
We could have avoided that tax liability had we done a 1031 exchange or opportunity zone. That's not lost on me. I just didn't find the right deals to put them together that made sense to do that 1031
Yeah.
to get rid of all of it. So basically that tax liability, it's all derived from capital gains.
Okay.
And I have been incredibly hard pressed to find any sort of loopholes to reduce the tax liability from capital gains. Like as far as I know, I can't contribute to a SEP to reduce my liability by the 50,000 because that would have to be from earned income, and capital gains is not earned income. And so I'm trying to look at all the different things. I found two things that might work, and my wife is having a fit about it because, well, because it's ridiculous. One is I saw that with capital gains, you can offset it if you buy aircraft for your business. So I could buy a helicopter.
Wow.
The other thing that I found is, which you probably know already and know more about it than I do at least, is it looks like you can take bonus depreciation on a vehicle for your business as long as it has a weight range of 60,000 or sorry, 6,000.
Yeah, 6,000.
And then it sounds like you can use that to reduce capital gains tax liability. And you could take 100% bonus depreciation in year one. So in
Hmm.
theory, I could go out and I could buy a Ford F-150 or a G-Wagon or whatever. And I'm not even a flashy guy. I don't even want a car, but I just don't want to pay. Here's the deal. 2020 was a shit show.
Yep.
And our government did not do a good job in any part of it. So I feel like I don't want to fork over $350,000 to our government who's going to mess it up because they're not good stewards of money. If my weird uncle who was not good with money asked me for 300 grand, I'd be like, dude, no. And I feel like my government right now is the weird uncle who's bad with money.
Yeah. Yeah. So I totally agree with you. So a couple of things. So first off, I didn't even know about the helicopter. That's a new one on me, or like transportation. So that I didn't know about that one. I know about the car, 6,000 pound weight limit, hence all the G Wagons and, four F-150s coming out. And yeah, bonus depreciation. The other thing you could do, and I don't know if it's too late given we're actually in January. I know a lot of real estate investors, what they did is even if they had a 1031 that they couldn't get done or it blew up, some of them, frankly, I think did a bad deal at the end of the year because you can go in and take a lot of year one depreciation, right? Do cost segregation and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So you, again, you have to check with your CPA if the deadline's December 31st, or maybe the deadline's April 15th. I don't know. But that would be the only other thing that I was thinking of. But let's talk about this car thing because I get it. But realize, let's just say you're going to buy $100,000 car.
Mm-hmm.
You essentially get a 30% discount, right?
Right.
Right. And if it's a car you've always wanted, it's awesome. Like if you want a G-Wagon, those fancy freaking Mercedes cars, awesome. You get a 30% discount, maybe 35%. But just to buy one, you're still out 70 cents, right?
Yes.
Right. So it's that's always something that's bothered me a little bit. And I say that because I have friends in Fresno that had an okay year, and they made, they made like 40 grand or whatever in their real estate business. And they've all gone out and bought 50, $60,000 cars. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You've taken away all of your momentum. You've got to do it all over again. And who knows what 2021 is going to be? Your case is a little different, bigger numbers. But yeah, I've never wanted to go spend 70 cents to get 30 cents back.
Right. No, that makes so much sense. And I don't need a G-Wagon. I certainly don't need a G-Wagon. The only thing that I was thinking about the Ford F-150, and
Yeah.
because it does the 6,000 pounds, is
Yeah.
eventually my wife and I want to live on the lake. And when we live on the lake, we're going to have a boat and we're going to have to tow the boat. So my thought is, well, if we're going to have to
Define eventually.
probably in the next 2 to 3
Okay.
years,
All right.
move
Well,
to the
yeah.
lake.
Yeah. So you're still useful life. It hasn't gone through, 5 iterations by then. Yeah. Yeah. I could get behind that, right? You're getting a 30% off on something you would have to buy anyway. That's the key. Bonus depreciation, I think, is going to go away of the dodo bird. So yeah, I could get
Yeah.
behind that.
So my understanding of it, and I could be wrong, but the bonus depreciation for this vehicle loophole, I guess we'll call it, is that starts to phase out in either 2023 or 2024.
I think
So
it's,
my thought,
yeah, I think it actually starts to phase out next year. I think it goes from
oh,
100% to 80% to 60 to 40 to 20. I think it's done by 25 or 26.
got it. Okay. So then my thought is this, like if we're, excuse me,
Mhm.
I'm getting over being, having a cold, but if we're going to be, again, I'll use my Grogu, I'll get the tea.
Ah, look at that guy. He's cool.
Baby Yoda. But if we're going to be living on the lake eventually anyway, meaning
Yeah.
like in 2 to 3 years, we're going to get a truck when we do that.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to buy the truck now, potentially, and
Mhm.
save myself $20,000 in taxes? And again, I know it's buying a $60,000 truck to save
Yeah.
20 grand in taxes.
No, I get it.
Mathematically, it's stupid. But if we're going to get the truck anyway,
Yeah.
does it make sense to get it in this year?
I think it does make sense. Again, as long as it was 2 years or less, 2 or 3 years or less, it makes sense. If you would have said 5 or 10 years, I'd be like, you're a fool. I mean, it'll fall apart by then. The only other thing
Right.
I have to think of, given you live in Seattle, is, do you have a place to, I don't know, store it or park it? Right, those are big vehicles, and I know some cities are pretty crammed, and it'd be just a problem storing it.
Yes. So luckily, I live in a duplex right now, and my garage, it's technically what it is it's an oversized 2-car garage,
Mhm.
but I could fit probably 2.5 compact cars
Oh,
if you
okay.
line them up. So parking a truck in there would be no problem. We wouldn't get the boat until we're actually living
Yeah.
on the lake. And then we would figure that out then, probably get like a boathouse for it. But anyway, yeah, I mean, is it other than the vehicle thing, which may or may not make sense? Are you aware of any other tax shelter accounts that can offset a liability from capital gains? I just don't know of any.
No, and unfortunately, no, I'm not aware of any. I don't know of any that got sunset. Um, Yeah, the only other one was that you could have bought apartments or buildings, done cost segregation, and pulled forward a bunch of depreciation there. But
Mhm,
I do want to give you kudos for something, because I have seen too many people over 20 years, frankly, do a bad 1031 exchange.
mhm,
Right? They sold a property that was performing maybe not to their expectation, had a bunch of equity. They sat on it. The clock got ahead of them, and they just did a deal because they were afraid of paying taxes. And
mhm,
then they signed up for a deal that they needed too much money to invest, and they ended up losing it. I mean, that's just sad.
mhm.
I want to give you some kudos for going, you know what? There's no deal. I'll pay the taxes if I have to. I'll try to figure out a way around it. But that's pretty good, man. Not many people your age would do that. They get enamored by the 1031, and they would just frankly do a bad deal.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it goes back to the truck thing, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to go buy something for crazy expensive, as you said, pay 70 cents to save 30 cents. At that point, you're stepping over dollars to save pennies, and it's like, what's the point? And I didn't find the right deal.
I
So we're
wish,
like, okay,
yeah, I wish more people would hear that, right? You are spending 70 cents to get 30. I'll just keep, I mean, I'm in cash building mode because I see opportunities coming, right? Um,
yes.
so I mean, for me, I could do the same thing, but I don't need one of those, right? I don't need a 6,000 pound vehicle. I would have no place to
Right.
put it. I have a two-car garage condo. I got no place to put it. So I would just stack the 70 cents, right? Because again, I think there's opportunities. I even think Seattle is going to have some opportunities coming. Maybe it's a couple
It
years
is.
out, but I think Seattle's stretched, man.
Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of YouTubers right now are saying the real estate market's going to crash in 2021. I don't believe it will, but I believe a crash is coming. I don't
Yeah.
think it's happening this year. But we're certainly, yeah, it's funny. And here's the thing. And I think you can probably relate to this. I am not a YouTuber. I am a real estate guy who happened to start a YouTube channel teaching stuff that I know.
Yeah.
And I would say is the same thing. You are a real estate guy. You and I, we were wealthy way before getting in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And a lot of these YouTubers don't actually know shit about real estate and are telling everyone that the market's going to crash in the next 3 months, and they're wrong.
Oh, they're so wrong. I've done so many videos calling these jockeys out. There is 0% chance the market crashes 30 or 40%. Zero. And by the way, if Biden gets his extension on moratoriums and foreclosures, it might not crash in 2022.
Right.
Because people don't realize is the average. Actually, this is a question for you because you're pretty good. Do you know what the average time frame to foreclose on a California house was in the last crash?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
770 days. Do you know what the average time frame to foreclose on a Las Vegas home was in the last crash?
No idea.
1,400 days.
Wow.
So do the math. That's almost 2 years. That's 2 years from your first missed payment. Actually,
Right.
no, wait, that's 2 years from the NOD. So that's actually like 2 years and 3 months.
Right.
So folks,
Right.
to think that you're going to have a crash just suddenly come out of nowhere because there's 3 million homes in forbearance is lunacy. It's mathematically impossible. And if they extend it from March to September, now we're talking 2023 or 24. I do think there's a hangover. I do think there's a slowdown. For me, it's when interest rates get north of 4%, 30-year note. Because what we need to have happen is owner occupants to be less affordable, like I talk in my book, right? Affordability is my governor. Right now, my market's a 48. Maybe it's a 47, 46. I don't even get nervous until it's 20.
Right.
Two things can happen. Interest rates could go up, which they've ticked up here in the last 10 days, or prices will go up, and it'll probably be both. So it's not going to crash in 2021. Hotels crash, retail crash, but not single family homes. Not possible.
Right. No, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of there are some things that will get clicks, right? If people go out there and say the real estate market's going to crash in 2021, so that means everybody sell your home and buy Bitcoin instead, that'll get some clicks. Unfortunately, a lot of people will lose their pants, but yeah, well, I always learn something when I come on your channel, so I really appreciate it. I do think you're absolutely right. Biden does want to extend the eviction moratorium, I think through September of this year. Also, something that no one's excited about, well, guys like us aren't excited about, I think he also wants to boost the capital gains tax rate from like 20% to almost 40%. So
ordinary income, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there's some stuff that will be coming down the pipeline that is interesting to say the least, but I really appreciate your advice here. I'm going to really think about whether or not it makes sense to buy a truck. I still drive an 11-year-old Ford Focus with 180,000 miles on it. So I'm just not that guy to go out and buy an expensive car, especially
what I would tell you to do. This is what I would tell you to do. Cause right now you're kind of, and I get it, right? You're angled on saving taxes. But I would tell you to evaluate, right? Do that, make yourself feel better, but then ask yourself, what could I do with 70 grand? Meaning buying assets. That's the trade-off you're making, right? You're basically taking 70 grand that you can't deploy elsewhere.
Yes.
That's the question I would ask. And my suspicion is you could turn that 70 grand into something. And that's what I think. But again, ask yourself the question. That's exactly what I'd ask. And for the most of the time, it would mean I wouldn't have a truck, but you're going to have a lake house soon and maybe it makes sense.
No, so you're absolutely right. When I go back to 70 grand, my third deal, I had to put a $65,000 down payment. It produces $96,000 a year in gross income. 50 grand of that is profit. So my 70 grand, instead of saving me 20,000 in taxes, could be getting me another 50 grand or so per year in passive income. So All right. Now that I'm saying it out loud, God, I was an idiot for thinking that I should buy a truck.
Well, there you go. Sometimes you just got to talk to a friend, and I'm always here for you.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Take care.